Oh well, all this is kind of a. Oh, there we go.
Hello. I think we're live.
I think we're live.
Thank you. Hello, friends. Welcome back to this discussion on the four agreements. Here with Coach Raymond Nazon of the SBG. Last week, we left off talking about the breaking the old agreements chapter that keeps us from being free, that free to be ourselves. So we need to be aware of what the problems are in order to solve those problems. And there are ways that Don Miguel talks about how we can do it. And he gives three. So we started talking about them, and the first one we had mentioned was facing our fears one by one. Because to change our beliefs, we need to focus our attention on what it is that we want to change and develop that awareness of those self-limiting beliefs that make us unhappy. So through that process of being aware in the moments when we are realizing what our fears are, is how we begin the process of our transformation. And there's a section on page 108. Um, he describes it's like a call to go into the desert. When you go into the desert, you meet your demons face to face. And after coming out of the desert, those demons become angels.
I
I
remember
really
that.
love that part
Yes.
because it's true when I think back on all the things that I went through in life, that once I came out of them, I saw how some of those things were for my good, for my own benefit, and not just bad things that happened to me.
That's right.
Yeah. And then the second way to get to do breaking old agreements is to forgive those who have hurt us. Now we talked about how hard that one is,
Right.
but how we starve the parasite because it really is like it hurts ourselves to not forgive other people, to not let go of the past, which is a huge thing to do. Um, So we are breaking that addiction of who we have been, the addiction to anger, the addiction to jealousy and self pity, and the idea that we're a victim, the addiction to believing that bad things are always happening to us, that we're not good enough, any of these kinds of ideas. These are the agreements that we are actually addicted to. And we have to forgive ourselves as well as forgiving others for holding these ideas and these beliefs within us. And then he moves on to talking about the third way to breaking the old agreements, which we had left off with, and that is the initiation of the dead. On page 105 is when he gives you the preview, and he says the initiation of the dead is found in many traditions of esoteric schools around the world. It's found in Egypt, India, Greece, America. And this is really a symbolic death, which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. But when we die symbolically, the parasite has to die. And this is a faster than the two other versions, but it's often more difficult to do because you have to put yourself in the mentality of like a near death experience. Like you have to literally kill your past of who you are, what you identify with. But for those who have actually had near death experiences, who have been more aware of how limited their time is or could be, that they could die at any moment, that it changes the way that you view the world. That this truth is that the truth that maybe you don't have that much time left on the planet to live makes you the face yourself in a way that you wouldn't normally scrutinize yourself on the day to day when you're well.
I,
And yeah, go ahead.
I want
Sorry.
to talk about that third part because, it doesn't need to be the near death experience. For example, when I decided to go carnivore, I had a moment where I had to cry that I will never return to my old self again.
Yeah.
It's just it was okay to let that portion go, like it was a dead old self. and I was okay to move on from there. Having new habits, having new ways of thinking, new food, and that was the transformation for me.
Because our old ways are comfortable for
That's right.
ourselves.
That's right.
It's what we know.
Right.
And it's very scary to then say, even the things that you came to love, even if they're not good for you, that means having to sacrifice them.
Yes.
And you're not knowing what you're going into in the new
Yes.
dream. You have to have faith.
And there is a portion of it that I had personally. I had to forgive myself for not knowing, for my old self. So I had to forgive my old self. I didn't know how damaging I was damaging my body. I had no idea. At first I
Right.
was mad. How didn't I know? And then I was mad at the world saying, well, how did I get tricked? Then it finally went to the point where it's like, no, it's not about that. Because in the end, those demons became my angels. Because
Yeah.
I said, if I didn't have any of those points, I wouldn't have been here today with this gratefulness of knowledge of how it is from going from super ill to so well.
Because you went through the gift of the resurrection
That's it.
in this one lifetime. You
Yes.
experienced that without having to die physical death.
Yes. That's right.
And you got another chance to be the real you, to not
Yes.
take life for granted. I know that in my near death experience, I had the fortunate to become aware of those things and where I was wasting my time and energy. And I lost complete interest in makeup, clothes, beauty products, not only because I was chemical sensitive, but because I was putting my health at a higher top priority than
Right.
spending my money on these things that were more about how others perceived my attractiveness. It became less important to me what other people were thinking about me, right? So I remember that I also stopped hanging out with the same people. I became more protective of my energy. I didn't want to be around people who were going to drain, stress, or tax me because I felt still fragile about, trying to recover. I felt lucky that I got a second chance to even be here. So I even now, like, if I'm out shopping at a store that, kind of doesn't make it easy for me to locate what I need, has me walking all over the place, and then puts other things in my way to like get me to buy them and distract me, I literally find myself that I'm not going to those places anymore. I make that decision now, whereas before I didn't do that. I make those decisions now. Well, I'm not coming back here anymore. It's just very quick, and I just know, like, I can just order this online. I'm never going to be, I don't want to waste my energy and time shopping. Do you know what I mean? There's other things
Yes.
I want to do in life. And then also, like, but one of the things that because I'm still dissolving these other things, I was plant based. I spent tons of time food shopping, washing, cutting, chopping, juicing, storing, freezing, packing, whatever. And I invested energy and time in that because I did feel like that was for the good of my health.
Right.
Taking care of myself is still at the top of my priorities. But now that I'm carnivore, I have much more time back in my life. I get more out of my meals with less energy preparing them, and I experience less waste and less cleanup in that process, and my quality of life has improved beyond what I could imagined it could. But like when you face death, I feel like you want any moment you have left on the planet to be happy and to enjoy life. That's the major decision thing behind the decisions that I was making. Like I want to be enjoying life, not cutting and processing vegetables. This doesn't seem natural to get to health. And I'm living more true to myself now than I was prior to my illness, but I do know that there's still more work to do because I had suffered, and through that suffering, you kind of have some hangups. to unravel as well. But there's a part in this book that he talks about embracing the angel of death on
Yes.
page 118. Um, and I'm not going to try to read too much of the book. I just want to
And
pinpoint like
I do want to say before that, in my carnivore journey, I also had a way to face death in a different way. My nurse, my doctors, after the calcium coronary scar, said I had 2 to 5 years before I had an event.
yeah, that's a
Right.
warning. It's a
That's
red
right.
flag.
Right.
You got time,
So
limited
that's
time.
I had limited time. And their words made me think at any moment now, of course I'm 7 years in, but still doesn't matter. At any moment now, tomorrow, I may not be here. And what would I do at that time? So it makes me free to think that I'm doing what I want to do.
I'm not going to wait, no longer wait for that thing that I think
That's right.
eventually will happen. I'm going to do what I can now
That's right.
to make
That's
happen
right.
what I want happen in my life.
Yes. I'm living the ultimate dream regardless of the book of laws. So Don Miguel talks about the book of laws saying, oh, you should do the right thing, whatever the right thing is according to the book of laws, and I watch other people judge me for what I do or what I choose. And it doesn't matter. Judge me all you want.
They
For
don't
me,
have
it's
to live
like,
your life.
that's right.
They're not going to
Per-
pay the consequences for your
Exactly.
actions in your
Exactly.
life right now.
That's right. And I could die tomorrow. And you know
Yeah.
what? This is my choice. This is my way of life. And yes, I've had certain positions that created the issues that I'm going through and that I'm going through my life. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And guess what? That's the only person that matters.
And let God be the judge.
There you go. Let God be the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a butterfly that has like it first starts out as an egg, then a larvae, then a caterpillar, then a chrysalis, then a butterfly.
Yes.
I feel like I got to transmute many times in this lifetime.
So did I.
And you
Fantastic.
get, and it's like the environment impacts our DNA. And that led me to develop CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. But I'm able to then manipulate my environment, check my emotions, be aware of my mindset, and still manifest another and transmute another dream.
Absolutely.
So, he says here, that page 18, he says, we can say, I'm going to be myself. No longer am I going to run my life to please other people. No longer am I going to be afraid of what they think about me. What do I care what others think if I'm going to be the one dying in 1 week? I'm going to be myself. The angel of death can teach us to live every day as if it's our last, as if there may no be tomorrow, and we can begin each day by saying, I'm awake, I see the sun, I'm going to give my gratitude to the sun and to everything and everyone because I'm still alive. One more day to be myself. And I don't want to like start arguments with people or whatever because they're, basically they don't know you don't know if you're going to see them again. So why would you
Right.
want the last thing that you say to somebody to be something about being in a fight over something
An ill
petty,
word.
right? Or an
That's
ill
right.
word. Yeah. And also in this chapter, he's like, when you get that wonderful gift, that feeling of the resurrection, it's a gift to be yourself again.
Yeah.
So, but there's a difference, he points out. He said the difference is that we have the freedom with wisdom instead of innocence. So we're able to break our domestication, become free again, heal our mind. We surrender to the angel of death knowing that the parasite will die, but we will still be alive. And a healthy mind and with perfect reason, and that we're able to use our own mind to run our own life. So we don't get to forget our history or the past because we're not actually
Right.
dying, right? But we get the gift of that past understanding and knowledge of who we were. That wisdom we get to bring into the new dream. So I mean, this leads us to the next chapter, really, the heaven on earth, the new dream, and this is that beginning of the new understanding. He talks about using now we get to use our imaginations to see the world with different eyes and to see love coming out of everything all around us. And when I read that, to see love coming out all around us, it actually reminded me of a time when I was having night terrors. And every time I had closed my eyes, I had this horrible vision of seeing blood coming out of my eyes, of knife stabbing my eyes. It was scary, and I was afraid to even tell anybody about it. But I had started to try to override that imagery by imagining like hearts coming out of my eyes, light coming out of my eyes, animated flowers coming out of my eyes. And I was able to like flip it over. I was able to turn around that experience and get rid of it. And so I this speaks truth to me. Like I really felt like, yeah, you can imagine your way out of hell. Um, and at the time when I was having these visions, I didn't realize it was the mycotoxins, the spores that I was breathing in my mold environment that was creating these night terrors. I had no idea, but I was still able to like push that out. But he asks us in this book to use our imagination, to have new eyes, to see ourselves living a new life, that we a new life where we don't need to justify our experiences to other people, that we're free to be who we are, no matter what it looks like to anybody else, right? Because nobody else is going to understand that experience I had unless they're having it. So that sometimes we can bond with other people when we share those experiences to know that, like, yeah, this was my truth. That was that your truth too. But for those who haven't had those experiences, there's going to be a lot of resistance to that. But he says in another chapter that imagine living without fear of loving and being loved.
Right.
That statement also had me reminding me of like John Lennon's song Imagine. I started hearing that song as soon as I read that. Imagine there's no hell. Imagine there's no countries, no war, no religion,
Yes.
no, and so I went to the lyrics to look at the song because I
Hmm.
was inspired by that, and to see what he wrote and how that impacted people, that wise wisdom, that song, how that was put out there into the world and how that changed people. um, there's one part like halfway through the song he says, imagine no possessions.
I remember that. Yes.
And that was like, yeah, I know that when he wrote that, he meant like material objects and stuff, but it also reminded me of when we were talking about in our last call how anger and jealousy and depression can be an energy that possesses you if you allow it to possess you. And so when
Yes.
I reread that now, imagine no possessions, I was like, yeah, imagine that. Imagine
Imagine
that.
no possession. Also, we tend to possess each other,
Mm,
our partners.
mm,
Imagine no possessions.
that we take ownership of land, that we think it's ours.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, so we can feel ultimately giving, but no possession. Like I said, I don't know how you feel about your spouse, but sometimes we do that with our spouse.
We
Feel
do.
like we own them. No possessions.
And there's no need for greed or hunger.
Right. And all of this is taking things personal, right?
Yeah.
We take things personally, therefore we feel like we possess,
And we say, how come you don't do this? How come you do this?
right?
We question them as if they're
Yes.
wrong to
Yes.
be who they are,
Instead of accepting or being able to accept them for who they are.
where they're at.
Could you imagine a world where you can accept anyone for who they are, what they're doing right now? That's
Even
love.
if it's the worst thing that
Even
in
if
the
it's the
world
worst thing,
that you can
that is
imagine them
love.
doing.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
But imagine, he says, imagine all the people sharing the world.
Yes.
You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
I love that because it was on the dream, because it's talking about the dream in the book. Yes.
And he says, I hope someday you'll join us and our world
Yes.
will live as one. And
Yeah.
he's talking about peace,
My
you
gosh,
know?
you just found a song for that four agreement on
It was
everything
like
there. That's
he
pretty
wrote
cool.
that, he manifested that, he sang that. Those words are powerful.
Right.
You know, Don Miguel says it's powerful. It's possible to live in bliss because people have done it. Other people have done it. It's right in front of us, and he's saying it's possible for you because you're no different. Um, you will know that heaven on earth is truth. That's what he says in the book.
Yes.
And
He
I,
actually says he was able to do it, and we can too.
yeah, and you know, I think of the Lord's Prayer, like let God's will be done on earth as it is in
As it is
heaven,
in heaven.
right? So that's our choice.
Yes.
We have to, and then, so page 27, 127, I think there was something I wanted to, because he talks about Jesus in the book too.
He does.
He says, 2,000 years ago, Jesus told us about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of love, but hardly anybody was ready to hear this at that time. So look how far we've come right there, right? You know, when you think
Mhm.
about that. But he said, you know, like they said, what are you talking about? My heart is empty. I don't feel the love that you're talking about. I don't feel the peace that you
Peace that you
have.
have.
You don't have to do this. He's saying, just imagine that his message of love is possible and you will find that it is yours. The
Yes.
world is very beautiful and very wonderful. Life can be very easy when love is your way of life. You can be loving all the time. This is your choice. And you may not have a reason to love, but that you can love because love will make you happy. And love in action only produces happiness. So love will give you inner peace and it will change your perception of everything. So you can see everything with the eyes of love. And so, like, that's a great thing to try to practice. Just look at something around you right now and just say, look at it with love, right? That's something we have to put into action because there's other parts in the book that says, you know, you have to make that action.
Yes.
So, he says, when you live this way, there is no longer a fog in your mind, which he refers to as the mitote. And we talk about that sometimes. Those confusing thoughts battling inside our brains. He said, the mitote has gone on a permanent vacation when you do this, when you just look at things with love. He says, for thousands of years, we have been searching for happiness. Happiness is the lost paradise. That's the lost paradise. And humans have worked so hard to reach this point, and this is the part of the evolution of our mind. This is the future of our humanity. I don't know. A lot of people don't follow astrology, but that's one of my passions on the side too. And right now, we're considered to be in the dawn of the age of Aquarius.
Oh
And
yes.
which that's a pretty lengthy time to be in. It takes 100 years that's still yet to come through this, but that's before we get actually to changing our age into
Right.
being the age of Aquarius. And I believe that all of us who have incarnated on Earth right now, we're pioneering this new dream of the age of
Yes. Yes.
Aquarius. This is us now in this lifetime changing our planet.
Also, if you look biblically, there's 1,000 years of peace when Jesus comes back. This is that time right there, the age of Aquarius. That kind of lines up
Wow.
with that. We're about to enter the age of Aquarius.
And
Yes.
he says, you know, happiness is the lost paradise. So we're getting the
Right.
love. When you love, you're getting back to that paradise. So tune into the wisdom of your body. It's time for reflection to go inward. It's that time to
Yes.
deconstruct beliefs and agreements that we need to tear down to prepare us for the new agreements, the new
That's right.
age. Now is the call to take a deeper inner dive, to reflect, to allow yourself to tune into whatever those shadows are within you. Because we need to clear out those blockages, what's holding us or constricting us, those patterns from the past, trauma from the past, anything that makes it more difficult to embrace new information and coming to a new you. There are supportive energies within our SPG community for this kind of a transformation. Healing ourselves requires taking care of our bodies.
That's right.
Taking care of our bodies includes feeding ourselves food that have building blocks to repair our tissues and to provide components that optimize the functioning of our organ networks. The SBG community also has calls that help us break out of patterns that no longer serve us. We are in October, we're going to be doing a weekly sugar addiction call. And it's not just about sugar, it's about any addictions, any addictive behaviors, that we share our burdens together in a supportive group of friends who are understanding. And that's important. Like, we have also the NSV meetings on Fridays. And NSV stands for the non-scale victory. So we're not just sharing our addictions or whatever, we're also sharing our victories with each other on another call, that we're not measuring in pounds and kilos that we lose. We're measuring them by how our quality of life is improving.
And the gratefulness for what is happening.
Yes, and by sharing those things with each other, we're hearing, we're seeing, we're recognizing, we're bearing witness to
Right.
other people's truth.
Yes.
And, by giving ourselves that proper nutrition, faith, grace, time, and community, we're able to stay on that path of healing. And, I used to think that I could go it alone, okay, out there, to wing it, to believe that my own willpower was the place that and I could just do things harder, stronger,
Right.
push, push, push. But that was all coming from a place of fear and
Yes.
desperation.
Yes.
And, because, hiding my weaknesses, not sharing them, because there was no trust and faith in my community around me. So, going through the SBG community, I learned many things that have course corrected my behaviors, putting me on that path of healing things I never imagined I could heal in this lifetime. And, I feel like we all have to be in that place where we're open, ready, and willing to hear these things. Otherwise, it's just not, it's not really getting through. But if you open yourself to transformational information and integrate what you learn by looking at both light and dark and clearing what you need to clear, and open your heart fully to what truly serves you, listening to your body, filling yourself with love and wisdom that you can emanate in your relationships and to others around you. For those, I'm thinking also how, like, we are now in the season of Libra constellation in astrology. It's a perfect time to grant ourselves grace, enrich ourselves with faith to create the harmony and the balance within ourselves. The Libra is the scales.
Scales. Mm-hmm.
And when we can face that dark, deep, stormy sea within us, to allow the truth to be recognized of what we're doing, to dissolve our blocks, then we can open our senses and remember that what we're really truly capable of creating, aligning more to our hearts and our soul's missions for being here. I feel like if we take time out in nature right now and to connect with nature, with the earth, we'll see that the leaves are falling. Things are being let go in nature all around us, and it's the perfect time to let go of our past. And also, you and I both use grounding blankets to sleep with at night. We don't connect enough with earth and nature, to the seasons and the time that it is right now. So I feel like bringing that to our attention, like if you go outside and you see the leaves falling, the trees, allow that to also allow you the permission to let go of things in your life right now, and with the promise and the faith of the renewal in spring. Because I know that my body feels much more relaxed and calm when I'm in nature, and using those grounding blankets at night, I'm able to, like, get a more deeper rested sleep,
Same.
and that affects my whole day the next day.
Yes.
I also just feel like if we can just allow ourselves to watch the destruction of our old patterns with faith, and notice that how other things are going to fall away with that. Because when we change our agreements, okay, we may also be losing our jobs, our friends, our home, because those things have to fall away
Right.
to evolve our life in the direction that we actually want it to go. And so, we can lament and we can mourn the leaves that are falling from the trees, but don't let it make you go to a negative place, a fearful place. Stay positive and not resist the change. Have that positivity and faith, because to attain world peace, each and every one of us has to do this shadow work, to have peace within ourselves, because it takes each of us to be at a place of peace to accomplish world peace. And the more that people do this kind of thing, it will like pull the collective on that trajectory along with us. So what you say is important, because it has the power to change the planet, and your perception of the world around you is essential to all of our destinies. So dream a new and better dream with us.
I love it.
And we have there's that leads us to the prayers in the book. And that's where I would like for you to take on this part of the call. Or what else do you have to say about the new dream? Or maybe let's do some cards.
Okay, let's do some cards then.
Let's see who's on the call, if there's
Can we
anybody.
can we tell?
Right now, I'm not seeing anybody making comments, but maybe there are people on the call. So I'd like to ask anybody who's out there watching us live right now
Yeah, if you're
to just
watching,
let
say
us
hi.
know. Hello, SBG. If you're out there, anybody who's watching the call, please say hello in the comments
Yeah,
of the
and
feed.
it's kind of like we did not announce it, so
We
we
didn't give
understand
enough
why
time
nobody's
to
here.
announce this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you never know. Somebody may be here.
All right.
Let's do a card.
Well, yes, we'll keep this open so in case we can see comments.
This one's kind of funny, actually. It says, this one's from Don't Make Assumptions, communicate with clarity. So obviously, we didn't communicate with clarity about this call. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. If all humans would communicate with impeccability of the word, all of our relationships would change. There would be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings. That's funny, just like the song you're saying.
Imagine John Lennon.
Imagine. Yeah, I know, right? That's perfect. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Want to do another?
I do.
All right. Another card. This one is don't take anything personally. Be immune to others' opinions. Oh, Michelle's here.
Thanks,
Yes.
Michelle. What is
Hi.
Michelle saying? I'm going to try to enlarge this
She
so I can
said,
read it.
sorry I'm so late. I have enjoyed these sessions so much. I look forward to more.
I
I
appreciate
would
that.
love a card pull. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Card pull for Michelle?
Yes.
All right. So let's do that. And let's see how we do. This one's on Don't Make Assumptions. It says, relinquish the need to change others. I don't know if that rings true,
Well,
but let me read it.
we were talking
Mhm.
about that in the forgiveness section of breaking old
Yes.
agreements.
Yes, we were. Real love is accepting other people the way they are. We just talked about that. Without trying to change them. If we try to change them, this means that we don't really like them. It is easier to find someone who is already the way you want him or her to be instead of trying to change that person. Wow. That's a hard one for me. Hard one. Michelle, I hope you enjoyed that.
It's all
So,
about parting ways with the past. If
yes, it
we
is.
want what we want in the future, we have to let go of the idea that we can change other people.
But
Um,
Amaline, what if you have a partner?
you don't want to let them go.
Right.
You don't have
You
to.
understand? Do you know what I mean?
I do.
But
You
you have to
don't.
accept the way they are for who they
You
are right now.
right. You just have
Right.
to let go of the idea that you're going to change them.
Right. But it's hard. It's like, oh, why didn't you say it that way? It's like, I don't, it's like a communication issue, right? That's what I
Yeah.
have with my partner. It's like when she does something, it bothers me. And I'm like, how do I not take that personally?
We all have that. I have that too. And I have been able to approach my partner and say, why is it, that if I'm talking to you, you don't make eye contact with me? Something simple like
I
that.
know there's exactly a
And
great
it's not like
example,
I'm
right?
trying to put them against the wall and corner them and,
Right,
or anything, but
right,
it's because I'm trying to explore where the breakdown is in our
right,
communication.
right. But that's
And,
also trying to change them,
yeah.
right?
Because in a way, when I ask that question, I'm basically saying, I'd like for you to look at me in my eyes when I'm
Right,
talking to you.
right.
But instead, I ask that question, and now I reflect back in this moment right now that I could have said that. I could have said, hey, I would like, if I'm talking to you, if you could look at my face so that I can know that you're hearing what I'm saying.
I love that. I love how you're
Yeah.
saying that. That's right. Just ask him for what you feel like would benefit you.
Yeah.
So that clear communication again.
There's always that hindsight.
Yeah.
And that's why
Well,
we
it's going to
keep
help.
trying.
We're observing, and perhaps if something bothers us about our partners, clearly communicate it. I guess that's the first step. But also, the problem is the control piece, right? We feel like, at least I do, I feel like if I'm going to have to communicate this, it puts me at a vulnerable point. You ever feel that way?
Well, you
Like,
can want things that we'll never get.
yes, and that scared of the
That's a
disappointment.
decision that we're choosing, that we're going to continue
Right.
to then be in that situation. So
Yes.
it's hard.
It's
What do you
hard.
think, Michelle?
Michelle, I'm glad we talked about that. This one's a difficult one for me, for sure. So, what shall we do now?
We can go into prayers or we can do more cards. I'd like to do the cards because I think we do have some time for the prayer too. Like it's this end of the book is that part where we're actually putting things into practice, right? We're
Yes, it
kind of
is.
putting ourselves into like a meditative state or a focal state
Right.
on something, and it's very beautiful. So there's the prayer for freedom, and there's the prayer for love, and that's calling in more of what we want. And
Right.
so that by speaking these things out loud, it's the power of our word being utilized by being impeccable with our word. I do believe that if you speak things that you do want out loud, that it helps actually create them for you. So, what do you think, Michelle? Working on all the agreements, I know, all at once.
Yeah, well, that's a tough one. I hope for me, to me, working on the agreements is my first step is the awareness. And that's what he says, the mastery of the awareness. And I learned that as I'm aware and I watch which agreements that I tend to uh, what are my agreements? I'm trying to be aware. What am I agreeing to with all of these at this world? And am I trying to keep these four agreements that I want to uh, really be at the forefront?
We have to give ourselves time
We
to
do.
process
We do.
our feelings
We do.
and before we say what we're going to say,
Yes.
especially. Like I feel like I take more time now. Like I'm not going to just do the knee jerk reaction and
Reacting.
blurt
Yeah.
out. Like I feel okay, I'm a little frozen. Let me pause because I'm a little afraid of how I'm going to react and I'm like, okay, let me have time to think about how I'm going to react and what do I want to say in a positive way, in a way that and also analyze what it is that I'm wanting. Like, do I really want that? What is it that I'm asking for? What's behind it?
Yes.
Um, you
So
know,
you want to go into prayers? Which do you
yeah.
want me to read?
Um, what prayer do you want to read? And do you want to
Um,
read the introduction because I feel that helps us
okay.
wind
Yes.
into the prayer.
Okay. Please take a moment to close your eyes, open your heart, and feel all the love that come from your heart. I want you to join with my words in your mind and in your heart to feel a very strong connection of love. Together, we are going to do a very special prayer to experience a communication with our Creator. Focus your attention on your lungs as if only your lungs exist. Feel the pleasure when your lungs expand. to fulfill the biggest need of the human body, to breathe. Take a deep breath and fill the air as it fills your lungs. Feel how the air is nothing but love. Notice the connection between the air and the lungs, a connection of love. Expand your lungs with air until your body has the need to expel that air. And then exhale and feel the pleasure again. Because when we fulfill any need of the human body, it gives us pleasure. To breathe gives us pleasure. Just to breathe is enough for us to always be happy, to enjoy life. Just to be alive is enough. Feel the pleasure to be alive, the pleasure of the feeling of love.
Mm, that was
That's
very
beautiful,
very good. The way you read
beautiful,
that too.
beautiful.
Oh, I do feel like I'm in a good ready state.
Just to be alive, to breathe. Ah,
I feel relaxed.
that's it. That's what it's
And I
about.
really want to make that a practice every day. I want to do breathing,
Yes,
just breathing
yes.
and
Just
love,
breathe.
and then looking at something and putting love on it while I'm
Yes,
breathing
just breathing.
and loving that feeling of the breath inside and taking
Yes,
pleasure in living.
yes.
It really puts things in check. All right, I'm ready for the prayer to read the prayer for freedom.
Let's.
Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you come to us and share with us a strong communion of love. We know that your real name is love, and that to have a communion with you means to share the same vibration, the same frequency that you are. And because you are the only thing that exists in the universe. Today, help us to be like you are, to love life, to be life, to be love. Help us to love the way you love, with no conditions, no expectations, no obligations, without any judgment. Help us to love and accept ourselves without any judgment, because when we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty and we need to be punished. Help us to love everything you create unconditionally, especially other human beings, especially those who live around us, all our relatives, and people whom we try so hard to love. Because when we reject them, we reject ourselves. And when we reject ourselves, we reject you. Help us to love others just the way they are, with no conditions. Help us to accept them the way they are, without judgment. Because if we judge them, we find them guilty, we blame them, and we have the need to punish them. Today, clean our hearts of any emotional poison that we have. Free our minds from any judgment so that we can live in complete peace and complete love. Today is a very special day. Today, we open our hearts to love again so that we can tell each other, I love you, without any fear, and really mean it. Today, we offer ourselves to you. Come to us, use our voices, use our eyes, use our hands, and use our hearts to share ourselves in a communion of love with everyone. Today, Creator, help us to just be like you are. Thank you for everything that we receive this day, especially for the freedom to be who we really are. Amen. hope you guys felt that.
Beautiful.
We'll use our eyes to imagine the world, use our words to speak love. Have faith, right? Um, so, and then there's another prayer, the prayer for love.
Shall
Do
we
you
do a
want to?
card in between?
I think we should. Yeah, because we
Okay.
have time.
We do? Good.
Hmm.
All right. Card. Let's see. It says this is from Don't Take Anything Personally. Be immune to others' opinion.
Mm.
What others say and do is a protection of their own reality,
Ugh,
their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering.
again, we repeat, would they, other people can think what they want to think, but they don't have, you're the one that's living your life. They're not going, if you follow their advice or are formed or form your decisions and the actions that you take in your life based on their judgments, you're the one that pays the consequences for that.
That's it. And that speaks very true in the carnivore world. So, should we decide to go into their somebody's, because they're offering you carbs because they think you need it. This is a great example. And then we end up paying for their judgment. I love how you said that.
Yeah, even when people feel like, you have to do something to make them feel like they're loved.
Right.
That's not true. Like, I got to eat
Great example.
Grandma Joe's apple pie because she will feel unloved if I don't do it. And yet, you're the one that has to eat that pie and live with the consequences of eating it.
Yes.
And how is that being loving to yourself?
That's
It's
so right.
just contributing a lie, and it's not you being true to yourself. And there's other ways to communicate to Grandma Joe that you love her,
That's
right?
right.
So, do we have another card?
Sure. Discern the truth. The,
That can be hard.
yes. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe that they are the truth. We make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, then we react by sending emotional poison with our
Oh,
word. This creates,
guilty.
yes, this creates a whole big drama for nothing.
Ugh. We
Interesting
got to
about
take
the
that
drama
time to get
word.
it right. We got to take that time to communicate.
Yes, we do. We
I
do.
mean, I can just
Make
see,
it
I
clear.
just remember from the other day something that happened like that to me. So, yeah. Um, I I'm in the middle of getting an offer for a new position.
Hmm.
And I had talked with the agency and I talked about the benefits and the salary that I wanted.
Hmm.
They were supposed to communicate to my boss. My boss then, I never heard anything back from either side. And then randomly on Friday, they said, "Oh, you're going to be transferring to the new agency as soon as Monday." But we never had a discussion.
Oh my.
And then all of a sudden, after hours on Friday, I got a call at like 6 o'clock where they said, "Hey, we sent you an email. There's your offer letter." And I went home and I opened it and it said I had till Sunday at 5 p.m. to sign and return the documents. And when
Mm.
I opened the contract, it was not what we agreed on.
Oh, not nice.
And I felt stonewalled,
Right.
gaslit,
Yes.
and I got upset. And I could have assumed that my boss knew what was in that agreement that was sent to me, had already signed off and approved that, because I didn't hear from either one of them.
Right.
So I did reach out. I texted and said, "Hey, it's a weekend," but I was my back was put up against the wall to say that I have to sign this by Sunday, 5 p.m. I don't even have a business day to talk to you about this. So
Hmm.
sorry to bother you on the weekend, but what's going to happen on Monday if I don't agree to this? Because you
Great point.
extended me with the other agency. How long do I have to negotiate this contract before I'm off with the other agency? and he was in the middle of the hurricane emergency relief,
Oh, and then that's right.
and so here we are. Here I'm
Wow.
being tested right now,
That's right.
and I'm not going to go crazy angry.
That's right.
I can't make that assumption that he knew what was going on, and I can't make the assumption that even the person I talked to didn't make a mistake.
Yes.
So,
And
prayer for love.
remember, there is no agreement unless you accept it.
That's right.
Because they gave you a deadline. That didn't mean you agreed to that deadline either.
I didn't do that, no.
Exactly. So
And
you
I'm not going to be forced in a situation where I can't communicate with anybody about it. So I'm not going to,
exactly
it's like almost sometimes it seemed like I could assume that I'm also being not allowed to communicate.
right. Oh, there's a
I'm
lot
not.
of assumptions that could happen through this. I'm thinking of several, and they're not good. So, right.
Yeah, doesn't look good.
That's hard.
Doesn't look
That's
good.
hard. That's hard to just, that's what we need to remember are for agreements. First of all, it's so difficult in your position, the way I feel, to not take this personally.
Right.
And
Or to
then the
make a fear
assumptions.
based decision
Exactly. Yes. Because you're
or to feel
worried that Monday
desperate
that you'll be in limbo. You don't know where you're going to be.
that I
I
won't
mean,
have a job
you won't have a job. Exactly.
because the other agency was then called and told to terminate my contract
Yes.
because I was going to move forward to this and there wasn't a conversation with me.
Yes. Well, thank you for your vulnerability on that.
Yeah.
And I love your observation because it is okay. I believe as I'm observing and I'm feeling certain things, it's okay to feel these. We're humans. We can't just squash it away and say, oh, that's not part of our agreement. We want to feel through everything that's happening. Now it's the question is how you're going to react. Hopefully, not react. Hopefully, it's going to be more of a, coming from with impeccability of our words.
So far, I reached out and called and I got voicemails. So,
Of course.
I left messages that
Yes.
were normal and factual and the ball's in their court. So
Great.
I'm open to having a conversation. It should have always been a conversation. It's normal to be
Yes.
communicating. It's not normal to have someone block you or just push you into a corner.
Yes.
So you have to stand up. You
Let's see
do.
what a card says for you on this case.
Please. Thank you.
All right. So I don't know what it's going to be. It says, oh, be yourself around others. Interesting. The biggest assumptions that humans make is that everyone sees life the way we do. We assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. We are afraid to be ourselves around others because we think others will judge us, victimize us, abuse us, and blame us as we do ourselves.
Well, I do see that relating because I have to be honest about
Yes.
who I am and what I want and
Yes.
what
That's
I
important.
deserve.
Yes.
And so other people could also be making assumptions about what I deserve. And without having a conversation with me to find out, they're making the assumption and the judgment
Absolutely.
of my value.
Yes. Yes.
All right, can you read the prayer for love?
If you could tell me what page that one is.
134.
Thank you. Okay. Prayer for love. We are going to share a beautiful dream together. A dream that you will love to have all of the time. In this dream, you are in the middle of a beautiful, warm, sunny day. You hear the birds, the wind, and a little river. You walk towards the river. At the edge of the river is an old man in meditation. And you see that out of his head becomes a beautiful light of different colors. You try not to bother him, but he notices your presence and it opens his eyes. He has the kind eyes that are full of love and a big smile. You ask him how he is able to radiate all that beautiful light.
You ask him if he can teach you to do what he is doing. He replies that many, many years ago, he asked the same question of his teacher. The old man begins to tell you his story. My teacher opened his chest and took out his heart, and he took a beautiful flame from his heart. Then he opened my chest, opened my heart, and he put that little flame inside it. He put my heart back in my chest, and as soon as my heart was inside me, I felt intense love because the flame he put in my heart was his own love. That flame grew in my heart and became a big, big fire. A fire that doesn't burn, but purifies everything that it touches. And that fire touched each one of the cells of my body. And the cells of my body loved me back. I became one with my body, but my love grew even more. That fire touched every emotion of my mind, and all the emotions transformed into a strong and intense love. And I loved myself completely and unconditionally. But the fire kept burning, and I had the need to share my love. I decided to put a little piece of my love in every tree, and the trees loved me back. And I became one with the trees. But my love did not stop, it grew more. I put a piece of love in every flower, in the grass, in the earth, and they loved me back. And we became one. And my love grew more and more to love every animal in the world. They responded to my love, and they loved me back. And we became one. But my love kept growing and growing. I put a piece of my love in every crystal, in every stone in the ground, in the dirt, in the metals, and they loved me back. And I became one with the earth. And then I decided to put my love in the water, in the oceans, in the rivers, in the rain, in the snow, and they loved me back, and we became one. And still, my love grew more and more. I decided to give my love to the air, to the wind. I felt a strong communion with the earth, with the wind, with the oceans, with nature, and my love grew and grew. I turned my head to the sky, to the sun, to the stars, and put a little piece of my love in every star, in the moon, in the sun, and they loved me back. And I became one with the moon and the sun and the stars, and my love kept growing and growing. And I put a little piece of my love in every human, and I became one with the whole of humanity. Wherever I go, whomever I meet, I see myself in their eyes because I am a part of everything, because I love. And then the old man opens his own chest, takes out his heart with that beautiful flame inside, and he puts that flame in your heart. And now that love is growing inside of you. Now you are one with the wind, with the water, with the stars, with all of nature, with all animals, and with all humans. You feel the heat and the light emanating from the flame in your heart. Out of your head shines a beautiful light of different colors. You are radiant with the glow and love, and you pray. Thank you, Creator of the universe, for the gift of life you have given me. Thank you for giving me everything that I have ever truly needed. Thank you for the opportunity to experience this beautiful body and this wonderful mind. Thank you for living inside me with all your love, with your pure and boundless spirit, with your warm and radiant light.
Thank you for using my words, for using my eyes, for using my heart to share your love wherever I go. I love you just the way you are, and because I am your creation, I love myself just the way I am. Help me to keep the love and the peace in my heart and to make that love a new way of life that I may live in love the rest of my life. Amen.
Thank you, Coach Raymond. And I know you have to go, but I just want to say, Michelle, thank you for being here, for your love. And I love you. And I love you too, Coach Raymond.
Thank you. This is
I'm
wonderful.
literally in tearing up a little bit with that prayer. And I think that's so beautiful. I'm going to be practicing that, to love the stars, to put my love in my breath, to just do that, take the time to do that because I feel so good right now. And so this is goodbye for now.
Yes. Thank you, Amaline.
Thank you.
This was great.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye, Michelle. Thank you for being here.